Welcome, episode 3, season 2, Creekside Chat. That's Sean Longani. I'm Adam Bowden. We're your hosts, and I still think this is the only podcast filmed in a stallion barn.
Let's roll.
So, Sean, April, Bluegrass, Kentucky. Is there any better place in the world than Kentucky right now?
It's nice, man. The grass gets green in like a day.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, and all of a sudden, all our fields are green.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's beautiful.
The prettiest place in the world.
So Keelan opens this Friday, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of visitors. But we just hope that we get through this storm coming, right? We've got the biggest rain forecast at the end of the week in a generation or more.
Oh, great.
5 to 7 inches.
I'm supposed to leave.
Yeah, 5 to 7 inches.
See.
So we hope it's a lot less than that. We know the whole eastern seaboard is dealing with a ton of bad weather this week.
So we got some good stuff to talk about today, but what we're not going to talk about are problematic foalings, which we're experiencing right now, because I think everybody does.
Losing foals and mares, sick foals and mares. You don't want to hear about it. It's awful, and everybody deals with it, and our hearts are with you.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about the Borgata and the Matchmaker because leg one just happened, so maybe later. We're also not going to talk about tariffs.
Nope.
They go into effect today, but we
Who
don't
knows?
really know anything about that.
No one knows. You can't get an answer from anybody. I might have read like 10 articles and 5 podcasts to try to figure it out, and I'm still confused.
Still confused. Me too. Yeah.
Stakes payments suck, but
badly.
It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Not going to talk about that.
Yeah. But what are we going to talk about?
We are going to talk about the sanctions that you may have seen were imposed upon Diamond Creek. Adam and I, it's been a few weeks ago officially, and we are going to break our silence and give our side of the story regarding that process.
Yeah, so when we pull back those barn doors, we'll get right into that.
We are going to talk about the Hunter Myers tragedy, but the positive things that came from it.
Yeah. So let's get into that. Let's peel back these barn doors.
Let's do it.
This breeding season, take the tactical approach.
Tactical approach! How did he do it?
2023 Trotter of the Year. Earnings of more than $1.5 million. The last colt since Muscle Hill to win the Hambletonian, Kentucky Futurity, and Breeders' Crown. Tactical approach.
Sell under a new banner in 2025 with Alliance Bloodstock, powered by Partnership. Now accepting 2025 yearling sale entries. Call today or visit us online at alliancebloodstock.com.
All right, here we are behind the barn door, no filter. We think it's time that we share our side of the story regarding the sanctions that you may have heard of from the USTA to Diamond Creek, Adam and myself. And Adam, start us out. I mean, it's been going on for a while.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these things that we've talked about internally about should we say anything? And I think up to this point we've said we're not going to say anything. And then, I don't know, epiphany or whatever you want to say in the midst of everything. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the feelings like from the beginning. I think there were some reservations when it first happened, right?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So we get a letter from an attorney who's working for the SRIF, which is an organization that came out a few years ago to investigate, really I think it was doping at the time.
Or bearding or whatever it was. And I think my feeling from the beginning was, let's just turn it over. I think you had other feelings about it. And I think in hindsight, you were right. And I think anybody going through what we went through, if they're going through it now, I'd have reservations. And I would probably counsel in private to be like, limit the amount of information. Like, we bent over backwards to give SRIF and the USTA everything. And what we didn't realize at the time was
they're building a case against us, essentially.
Yeah, and I think they had the lube and they didn't use it.
Yeah.
And so from that point forward, it was we bent over backwards, hundreds of hours internally providing the documents. They used it against us. And I think it's frustrating to read now when they talk about us. When they mentioned to me in the most recent article about conflict of interest, it was like, home alone by myself, it was, I'm going to wind this thing down. Mm-hmm. I'm going to turn it all off. Like, it was that kind of pain for me because I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. I don't think we did anything wrong. And for them to say those things, it was like, yeah, screw you. Yeah. But I think it lit a fire under me. And their most recent article, the conflict of interest thing, is like, oh, look over here. We have no conflict of interest because there is no conflict of interest because we say there's no conflict of interest, right? Like, the Hanover Trotting Association is what it is. That's what I believe. It is. There's a massive conflict of interest from the top down. And for them to say that Russell Williams, whoever, is not bothered by what we've done and eaten up market share over the last 5 years it's not true. And for them to say it, I think, is wrong. And I think anybody with any kind of brain in this sport knows that it's just flat out false.
Yeah, I think the one silver lining as we've gone along is the folks who do see through the BS.
Our friends and our clients, they've been very supportive this entire time.
The ones who have supported us. And that's been huge because we know that the USTA doesn't speak for all the membership, regardless of how much they want to say that the real movers and shakers in the industry, the folks that have supported us, see our side and see the conflicts and see the issues and how they could potentially get really bad from here.
I mean, at the end of the day, we got sanctioned, you and I, $5,000 combined per instance of breeding mares owned by a person who was in good standing with the USTA.
Yeah, broke no rules.
Right? The Hanover Trotting Association and Hanover Shoe Farms knew that they had bred up to 6 mares. Were they investigated? Were they sanctioned? I think so far the answer is no. But if we're guilty, they're guilty. And for them to say there's no conflict of interest is just flat out not true. So, what's going to happen is they're going to likely see this and they're going to likely comment about it. And my comment to them is what Will Smith said to Chris Rock, which is, keep my name out of your mouth.
Yeah. They've become so conflict oriented and
but I hate bullies.
Legally
I've hated
ready.
bullies from the beginning, and this from the beginning has felt very bully oriented.
Yeah. Abuse of power.
Exactly. And I think the investigator that led this entire thing has lied to us from the beginning, specifically told us they're not in the business of sanctioning members. They're in the business of cleaning up the rule book. I don't have any problem with them cleaning up the rule book. In fact, they needed to do it. Yeah. But what they neglected to do was actually clean up the rule book. What they did is they went after us. And I got a big problem with that.
Sure.
And there'll be repercussions from it.
Yeah.
Maybe there already are.
Justifiably so. My biggest issue with the whole thing is that we were used as a target and a big entity that essentially was a big fish that they could pull into what they were already doing with some of those individuals. And so for them to take no responsibility, the USTA themselves, for improperly changing owner registrations, and us taking that into account and asking for guidance after some of those individuals were suspended and not getting any guidance on what to do and being left in the dark is really concerning going forward, because if you're going to be making rules and regulations but not providing guidance, this includes the new rule changes. We've asked for several pieces of guidance and have received none.
Yeah.
How is anyone supposed to operate in this business? And
I think
how
at
is this
the
business
beginning,
supposed
that's
to be
that
healthy?
feeling that I had, like, why participate in this sport if that's how you're treated by the rules and governing body? But we've said this internally, and maybe we now say it externally, is they owe the sport an apology.
Yeah, that the sport will never get. And the sport loses in all this.
Absolutely.
Because we fervently care about the sport and the breed. No, I mean, how could we not?
We've
You see
invested
how much we
millions
love
of
the
dollars
horses,
in
yeah.
this thing, and all we want is the betterment of the sport, and to be treated like that from top down.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It deeply hurts. The things that we do on a daily basis to enhance our reputation, keep our morals within the horse business, our ethics within the horse business on the right, the things we don't do on a daily basis, the things we avoid doing on a daily basis that go against our ethics. Because let's face it, folks, in the horse business, I mean, it is everywhere. Unethical people are everywhere. So to try to avoid that on a daily basis, care about your reputation and character, go great lengths to do the right thing all the time, and then to have publicly, your character attacked for having associated with someone who did things that were wrong.
That's hurtful.
It's a bit of a stretch too.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, like Forrest Gump said, that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah.
And I think we got it all off our chest now.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate
we'll
you guys
forward.
listening.
Absolutely,
And let's get into Open Bridle.
All right, Open Bridle, here we go.
And it's all Pebble Beach. And Pebble Beach has destroyed this field. The Pepsi North America Cup, Pebble Beach in Iran.
Sell under a new banner in 2025 with Alliance Bloodstock, powered by Partnership. Now accepting 2025 yearling sale entries. Call today or visit us online at alliancebloodstock.com.
All right, Adam, let's open up this bridle. This is where we talk about anything and everything that we feel like is pertinent and now. And I don't think there's anything more now than the Hunter Myers tragedy. So
Yeah, I think given what we just spoke about, as divisive as this sport can be, it's also tremendously sad that it takes a tragedy to bring the entire sport together.
But it
Focused
certainly
on-
did. I mean,
Yeah, and that's
every jurisdiction. It makes you proud to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
You lose a participant, and obviously most of the people that are out there participating in some of this stuff didn't know him. I didn't know him.
we didn't know him. No, I mean,
You hear great things about him now.
our racing manager Marcus and I used to talk about like who the best young drivers were in the sport, right? And it was always this conversation. Was it Hunter Myers or Brett Beckwith, right? And it was like back and forth all the time. And like kind of sad that we never actually got to use him, but like you go back and you watch his races and clearly like a young and upcoming driver and just gone way too soon. And you feel for his family, having a young, I mean, we're both dads, so I can only imagine what his family's going through and all of that stuff. But to see the sport circle around the family is about as nice and heartwarming as you can imagine.
It's been an amazing month to see how it does touch everybody. It makes you think, okay, if something happened to me or to one of my colleagues, this is a unique industry where work associates, might remember you.
Yeah.
Would potentially remember you in a very special way, like they did Hunter Myers. So,
I mean, everybody tried to participate as much as they can, right? From breedings to just the donations to
all the
directly to the
memorials.
think and
I mean,
the Meadowlands
T-shirts
across the board.
We could name so many names, people that did some grassroots things. I mean, I think it just moved everyone to act, because you hear the stories about how nice he was, how fun he was to be around, what a great just person in the industry he was, and all the people he touched. But then here's a guy that's got a young fiance and a young child at home, and that there's just no one that doesn't
I didn't
move.
know about the honor walk,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know it existed, but
I had never heard of that
right.
before.
But Chris Gooden's video is just, I mean, you should watch it in private.
Yeah. So if you're an organ donor, I guess, and you are being kept alive for organ donation, I didn't know this, but they will assemble at the hospital people that are close to you to honor you as they wheel you
talk
to
about
the
powerful.
operating room.
There's hardly anything I've ever seen that's more powerful than that.
Them kissing on him and saying goodbye to him while he is physically alive there.
It's hard to watch.
It's hard. It's hard, but it's good. And I think that death. I had a close friend die this month too, only 39 years old, and it was a very emotional funeral for me. I think that death is so hard, but it is so important that we don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
That we experience all the feelings, because in some ways it's like the most alive you'll ever feel, because you're talking about real stuff that we all will face one day. Don't want to be too grim here, but we also had some other sad news here. March 30th, a few days ago, as we record this, Arson is a 4-year-old now. He's a Captain Treacherous out of Western Montana, our foundation mare. She's the dam of Pure Country and the grand dam of Confederate. This was the one and only horse out of that mare that we've ever taken to the marketplace, and we sold her as a yearling. Who bought her, Adam? Why don't you tell that story?
Yeah, the stable bought that colt for I think $85,000, and they've made close to $350 maybe with him.
He's right on the cusp of $350,000.
He's been fantastic for them up to this point, and then I just got notified of this just the other day. That
I just found out last night. Caroline found that he just a few days ago broke a cannon bone, freak injury. I believe it was on the first turn, or maybe it was the third turn of the race, and at Northfield, race 6 there on the 30th. It was a freak thing. Anthony McDonald did a nice commentary about it, and we want to just say thank you to the stable and all the Arson owners for attempting to save his life. And as far as we know, he is currently alive. I believe he had completely shattered cannon bone, 33 screws. So I think Dr. Latessa and Dr. Brown, who conducted the surgery, are also to thank.
Great guys.
They really are.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking about you guys, the Arson owners, and we appreciate you guys. And you wanted to make a special offer to them too, if he does survive.
Yeah, if he does survive, we're very happy to take the horse back. Obviously, that mare means a ton to us. And so, we would open up our home to that horse.
We just appreciate the stable. Like, they've done a great job with this horse and done very well for themselves with him. And they're huge fans of him. I know he must be, from what we understand, an incredibly classy and smart individual to even have survived this long. So we're hoping and praying that he makes it all the way. And if you all ever need a forever home for him, please send him back to Diamond Creek. So with all that heavy,
that was pretty heavy right there.
We're going to lighten it up down the stretch here and wrap up this episode of Creekside
All
Chat.
right, let's do it.
All right, here we head down the stretch to wrap up this episode of Creekside Chat. This is always a fun segment where we just kind of talk about random stuff to end the show.
Okay. Spring break coming up, a couple days. I'm headed to Turks and Caicos.
Good for you, man.
Pretty excited.
Got the kids, right?
Yeah. Just get out of here, hopefully, before this weather gets here, right?
Yeah, crazy.
What about you?
We're going to stick around here, I think, for spring break. We've still got the 15-month-old at home, so it's a little difficult to travel. But I'd like to sneak out to Keeneland with them some. And
Bluegrass is Saturday.
Maybe do a little quick road trip for a few days. The Bluegrass Stakes is Saturday.
Which means Derby's, 4 weeks away?
It's exciting. Yeah, we were just talking about, though, it's been an okay 3-year-old crop, some okay Derby preps. There's some horses that we like. I kind of like Sandman, and even though he was green there winning the other day, I thought that was cool to see him break through. Is there anybody you liked, or any thoughts on this?
Yeah, and they both came
crop?
up empty in the prep race.
Who were they?
Well, I think Cornucopian was one of those horses that you could have been like, had he won the Arkansas Derby, but as soon as he got in the speed duel, I was like, turn the TV off quick.
Yeah, you hope he's not ruined.
No, Sovereignty I liked. I thought he finished good even behind Tappan.
I would still back that horse.
Yeah. I liked him.
You don't take anything away from him in the Florida Derby. Did you just see that Coolmore acquired the rights to journalism?
Yeah, so that's kind
of
interesting.
Was that a surprise, or is it no surprise that they wanted a Curlin son out of a great mare?
They don't have one, right? So that makes sense,
right?
Yeah.
That almost makes me think his chances to be good, here going forward are quite high because they're quite smart. So it'll be exciting. We'll watch the Derby. We hope you all do too. And then
we won't put any plugs in for anybody specifically, but Heather Wilder's interviews on HRU are off the charts good this year.
Tucson Training's been great. So. Keep up the good work, guys. I think everybody loves to watch Tucson Training. Nothing better. So.
And she's never been better.
Yeah. And the 3-year-olds are getting ready to start qualifying. The Grand Circuit has started, so finally we can get rolling into race season.
We might even talk about that next episode, our own groups.
Stay tuned, guys, and send us your questions to Caroline@diamondcreek.com. I am Sean. This is Adam, and this was your episode of Creekside Chat.